I never saw it coming, honestly. My name's Mike, and I've been with Lisa for about 5 years now. We met in college, and for a while everything seemed perfect. She was the girl everyone loved, beautiful, confident, sharp-tongued, and always a little bit bitchy, but in a way that still made you want to protect her. When we got engaged and planned our wedding, I thought I knew her inside out. I thought I knew us. But then the signs started creeping in, subtle at first, and then glaringly obvious. It began about a week before the wedding. Lisa had always been somewhat suspicious about her phone. She kept it close, always hiding it, even from me sometimes. At first, I brushed it off, thinking she was just privacy conscious or maybe hiding something innocent. But then, on the night of the rehearsal dinner, I noticed her texting someone late at night, her eyes flickering with a kind of nervous excitement I'd never seen before. When I asked who it was, she snapped, told me it was her cousin, that I was being paranoid. Classic Lisa, full of lies and quick to turn things around. Still, I let it go because I was busy with wedding stuff, and honestly I wanted everything to be perfect. But then came the strange little things. Her phone kept ringing at odd hours, she was overly defensive about her purse, and she started disappearing for long stretches of time, sometimes claiming she was just talking to a friend or checking the hotel reservations. It all felt off, but I kept telling myself I was overthinking it. I was about to marry her after all, and all I wanted was that one perfect day. Our wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but from the moment I woke up, it was like a tension had settled over everything. Lisa was bitchy and snapping at everyone, clearly stressed, but I chalked it up to nerves. When I finally saw her walking down the aisle, she looked stunning, yet there was this flicker in her eyes, like she was holding something back. I didn't want to ruin it, so I pushed the feeling aside. After all, I loved her and she was supposed to be my forever. The reception was a blur of smiles, dancing, and drinks. We were supposed to leave for our honeymoon the next day, but that's when everything changed. During a quick break, I decided to check her purse, just to see if she'd left her phone lying around, maybe to calm my nerves. I wasn't expecting what I found. Inside her purse, tucked away beneath her lipstick and a half-eaten snack, was a hotel room key. Not just any key, but one from a hotel 20 miles away from where we were staying. One I knew well because I'd actually checked us into that place for a romantic night away before the wedding. I froze, my stomach dropped. I looked closer, and that's when I saw her name on the key card, Lisa's. My heart started pounding. I pulled it out, staring at it like it was some kind of proof I'd been blind to all along. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could she do this? During our wedding week of all times, I wanted to scream, to ask her what the hell was going on, but I held back. I knew I needed to confront her, but I also knew this was just the beginning of something much darker. I slipped the key back into her purse, pretending I hadn't seen it, and tried to stay calm. But inside I was furious, betrayed, and broken. The woman I thought I knew was out there, cheating on me, right in the middle of our wedding week. I didn't sleep that night, and I realized then that everything was about to change, whether I wanted it to or not. The next morning, I woke up with a sinking feeling that I couldn't shake. I kept replaying the moment I found the hotel key in her purse. It was like a punch in the stomach every time I thought about it. I had to act, but I wasn't sure how. Do I confront her right then? Do I wait, gather more evidence, and then confront her with everything? My mind was racing, but I knew one thing: I couldn't keep this secret inside. It was eating me alive. Lisa was still asleep when I left the hotel room. She looked peaceful, unaware of what I knew, but I saw her briefly looking at her phone, typing something quickly before shutting it off. That confirmed it. She was hiding things, and whatever she was hiding was probably worse than I imagined. I decided I needed to find out the truth, no matter what the cost. I couldn't live in this limbo, wondering if I was just paranoid or if my wife had been lying right to my face. I started by asking her about the hotel key casually, pretending I found it in my jacket pocket or somewhere else. Her reaction was instant. Her eyes widened and she scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Oh, that. It's nothing, just a stupid mistake," she snapped. "I was with my sister at some spa and forgot to throw it away." A big deal. Her voice was snippy and her tone was defensive, like she was expecting me to just forget about it, but I didn't. I pressed her, asking why she had the hotel receipt in her purse, why her phone was full of secretive texts, and why she was so evasive. She got bitchy fast, throwing her arms up and yelling, "You're overthinking everything. You're just insecure like always. Honestly, I don't owe you explanations about every little thing. Maybe I just wanted some fun, huh? It's not like I cheated on you with some random guy. It's just sex, Mike. It doesn't mean anything and it's not a big deal." I could see the lie dripping from her words, but it didn't seem to matter to her. She was trying to brush it off like it was nothing, like I was just being dramatic. That's what hurt the most: her dismissiveness, her denials, her sheer ability to lie without blinking. I knew she was lying, that she was hiding something, but I didn't want to believe it. Still, I couldn't ignore the evidence. The hotel key, her nervousness, the defensive attitude. This was no coincidence. I felt sick inside, like my entire world was falling apart. I wanted to yell, to scream, to shake her until she admitted the truth, but I kept my composure. Inside, I was already planning my next move. I spent the rest of that day trying to keep up the appearance of normalcy, but the more I watched her, the more obvious it became that she was hiding something big. She was avoiding me, brushing off questions, and acting like everything was fine. But I saw her glance at her phone every few minutes, and I caught her deleting messages more than once. That's when I realized I couldn't trust her anymore, not even a little bit. By that evening, I made a decision. I was done playing the fool. I kept quiet for most of the day, but inside I was boiling. When she finally tried to come close and act affectionate, I pulled back. I told her I needed to talk, seriously talk. She rolled her eyes, smirked in that overly confident, bitchy way she always did when she thought she had the upper hand, and said, "Whatever, Mike, just get it over with." That's when I knew I had to confront her, not with anger or accusations, but with the cold truth I'd uncovered. The feelings were a mess: anger, betrayal, sadness, all tangled up inside me. I felt like I'd been punched repeatedly, like I was drowning and couldn't get a breath. I started to realize that maybe I was just a placeholder for her. It was clear she was more loyal to her lies, her secrets, and her other life than she'd ever be to me. And that's when I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay anymore. That evening, I sat her down in the living room, my heart pounding, hands trembling a little. I knew this was the moment I'd been avoiding, but I also knew I couldn't keep hiding from the truth any longer. I looked her square in the eyes, the betrayal simmering just beneath the surface, and I said, "Lisa, I found the hotel key in your purse. The one from the place I know you went to with that guy. So tell me, who is he, and what the hell is going on?" Her face froze for a moment, then she gave me that trademark bitchy smirk, rolling her eyes like I was the biggest idiot alive. "Oh, that's just some stupid mistake, Mike. Honestly, I don't know why you're making such a big deal out of it. It's nothing. You're just paranoid because you're insecure." Her words hit me like a slap. I could see her trying to play it off like I was the crazy one, but I'd already seen too much. I pressed her harder and she snapped back. "You think I'd cheat on you during our wedding week? Wow, you really are insecure. Maybe I just needed a little fun, a little adventure. Sex isn't everything, it's just sex. It doesn't mean I don't love you or that I'm some horrible person. You're overreacting as usual." Her voice was sharp, dismissive, and I could tell she was trying to gaslight me, make me doubt myself. That's her move: deny, lie, and twist the truth until I'm questioning my own sanity. But I wasn't buying it. My mind was racing, and I felt a mix of anger and heartbreak all at once. I asked her straight up, "Are you sleeping with him? Are you cheating on me?" The silence that followed was deafening. Then she finally looked away, scoffing. "Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Who cares? It's not like it's the end of the world. I'm still your wife, right? Or am I?" That was the moment I realized her words weren't just meant to insult me. They were meant to push me away, to show me she didn't care about the damage she was doing. For a second, I thought about just losing it, breaking down, yelling at her, or maybe even throwing her out. But I held back. Instead, I just slowly got up, told her I needed some air, and left the apartment. I couldn't stand to look at her. I needed space to breathe, to think, to process all of this chaos. In the quiet that followed, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything I thought I knew about her, about us, was a lie. I wondered how many other lies there were, what else she was hiding, and how deep the betrayal went. I thought about her bitchy attitude, her lies, her dismissiveness. It was all so calculated, so manipulative. It made me question whether she ever loved me at all or if I was just some placeholder in her life, someone she'd settle for while chasing after her thrill or her secret affair. I spent that night tossing and turning, replaying every moment, every sign I'd missed. And I realized I had two choices: keep pretending I didn't know or face the brutal truth and do something about it. I knew I couldn't go on like this, living in the shadows of her lies. The pain was overwhelming, but deep down, I also felt a strange sense of clarity. This wasn't just about her cheating. It was about me finally accepting that my wife had been lying to my face the entire time. By morning, I made up my mind. I wasn't going to let her destroy me, not without a fight. I needed a plan, something calculated, something that would make her regret ever crossing me. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew I had to act fast. I had to regain control of my life and figure out whether there was any way back from this kind of betrayal. The first step was clear. I had to find out how deep her betrayal went, and I had to do it on my own terms. Because at this point I couldn't trust her to tell the truth. Over the next few days I kept my distance from Lisa. Every time she tried to act normal, throw a little charm her way, make some half-hearted apology, I just shrugged it off. I wasn't about to be played anymore. Instead, I started digging. I knew I couldn't rely on her honesty, so I had to find my own way to get the truth out of her, or at least figure out how deep this thing went. First, I went through her phone. It was messy, full of deleted messages, secret apps, and odd call logs. I spent hours scrolling, analyzing every strange text and missed call. What I found was a pattern: late-night messages, exchanges with a guy named Danny, and a lot of flirtatious emojis. She'd been texting him for weeks, maybe longer. Some of the messages were explicit, and I saw enough to know they'd been sleeping together. That hurt worse than I thought, more than the hotel key, more than her bitchy lies. I also started tracking her movements. I followed her when she claimed she was meeting friends, and every time I did, she was with him. I saw her entering that hotel again, saw her leaving in the early mornings. It was like a punch to my stomach every time I saw her with him, acting like they were just friends or whatever she told herself to justify it. But I knew better. I knew she was lying to my face, just like she'd lied about everything else. One thing I noticed was how she kept changing her story. First, she denied everything. Then she threw in the "it's just sex" excuse, like that made it okay or somehow less painful. The more I caught her in these lies, the more I realized she was desperately trying to cover her tracks, but it was too late. The evidence was piling up, and her attempts to deny only made her look more guilty. I remember sitting in my car one night, watching her walk into that hotel again, feeling a mixture of rage and heartbreak. I thought about all the promises she'd made to me, all the times I trusted her, only to find out she had been betraying me during our wedding week, while I was busy planning a future with her. It was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. She'd been lying, sneaking around, screwing around with my own brother, no less. That part was the worst, my brother, Jake. I still couldn't wrap my head around how someone I loved and trusted could do this to me. When I finally confronted her again, I was prepared. I knew the truth, and I knew she couldn't lie her way out of it anymore. I called her and told her I knew everything. Her reaction was classic Lisa. Her voice was sharp, dismissive, full of that bitchy attitude she always threw around. "Mike, you're overreacting. It's not a big deal. I was just having some fun. You're making it bigger than it is." I didn't hold back anymore. I told her exactly what I'd found: her secret texts, the hotel stays, the times I followed her. I told her I knew about her affair with Jake and I wanted the truth. I wanted her to admit it to my face. But instead of honesty, she doubled down, tried to gaslight me again, saying I was paranoid, that I was just jealous, and that I was ruining everything. That's when I lost it. I could feel my blood boiling. I told her she was nothing but a cheating, lying bitch who had wasted 5 years of my life. I told her I didn't want to see her face again, that she was a terrible wife, a terrible person, and that I'd had enough. I ended the call with the harshest words I'd ever said to her, something that made it clear I was done. After that, I packed a bag and left. I didn't want to be around her anymore, not while she was still lying and trying to manipulate me. I needed space to think, to breathe, too. figure out what my next move was. Sitting alone in my apartment, I realized how much I'd been blindsided. I thought I knew Lisa, but I was just fooling myself. She was more loyal to her lies and her secret life than she'd ever be to me. My mind kept circling back to the pain, the betrayal, the lies, the fact that she had cheated during our wedding week. The worst part, knowing I might never be able to trust her again, even if I tried. I felt shattered, but deep down, I also knew I had to take control of my life. I couldn't let her destroy me, not without fighting back. I'd already lost so much. I wasn't about to lose the last shred of myself. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and clear realization. I stayed away from Lisa, not because I was giving up on finding a way out, but because I needed to get my head straight. I couldn't afford to be impulsive. I spent hours researching, talking to friends, and trying to understand just how deep her deception ran. The more I learned, the clearer it became that I was dealing with someone who had mastered the art of lying, someone who could twist reality to her favor, and someone who was completely indifferent to the damage she was causing. One thing I decided was that I couldn't just confront her again and expect honesty. No, I needed proof, something concrete that wouldn't let her deny, twist, or manipulate her way out of this mess. So I set up a few discreet meetings with a private investigator. I didn't want to go full legal mode just yet, but I wanted to gather enough evidence to make her realize I wasn't messing around. I told her I was just checking some things, but really, I was getting my ducks in a row. Meanwhile, she kept playing her game. She would text me snarky comments, try to act like nothing was wrong, and throw tantrums when I didn't respond the way she wanted. It was almost like she was trying to push me further away to make me angry enough to leave her entirely. But I refused to give her that satisfaction. I stayed cold, focused, and cautious. I knew her type. She'd try to gaslight me again, make me doubt myself, or even try to turn the tables. What I didn't expect was that my brother Jake would start to act strange around me. One day, he came over acting overly casual, and I caught him looking at his phone a lot. I asked him what was going on, and he shrugged, acting like I was crazy. But I knew that something was off. Turns out he was caught in his own web of lies. He was cheating on his wife, Corinne, and Lisa knew about it. They'd been exchanging secret messages, planning their own betrayals, and all of it was tied up in the chaos I was unraveling. That was a hard hit. I trusted Jake. Hell, I still wanted to believe there was some decency left in him. But now I realized he'd been lying to me just as much as Lisa, sneaking around behind my back. The betrayal wasn't just Lisa anymore. It was my own flesh and blood. I felt sick, like I'd been punched in the gut all over again. How could they both do this? How could the people I loved turn out to be so utterly corrupt? My anger grew, but so did my sense of clarity. I knew I had to confront Jake, even if it meant tearing my family apart. I couldn't let this go on any longer. I called him one evening, told him I knew about his affair and Lisa, and that I was done. I told him if he cared at all about me, he'd come clean, or I'd expose everything to everyone. There was a long pause on the other end, and then he finally admitted it. He'd been cheating with Corinne for months. That revelation shattered whatever remaining illusions I had about my family. I felt betrayed at a level I didn't think was possible. My wife, my brother, everyone close to me was tangled in this web of lies, betrayal, and deception. I realized I was alone in this, and I had to figure out my next move. So I did. I took all the evidence I'd gathered, confronted Lisa again with the truth, and told her I was done. I told her she was toxic, manipulative, and a liar who had destroyed what little trust I had left. I told her I was filing for divorce and cutting her out of my life entirely. I didn't ask her for explanations. At this point, I didn't want her to lie her way out of the consequences anymore. I just wanted her gone. Now, I'm in a place where I'm trying to rebuild myself. The betrayal has left scars, but it's also made me realize I need to prioritize my own happiness and integrity. I've learned that sometimes the people closest to you can be the biggest liars and cheaters, and you have to be strong enough to walk away. I don't know if I'll ever fully get over this, but I do know one thing. I am done with lies, betrayal, and fake loyalty. The only loyalty now is to myself. In the aftermath, everything changed. I moved out, started seeing a therapist, and took time to really process what had happened. The pain was intense, like losing a part of myself, or maybe 100 parts. Trust had been shattered, and I felt like I'd been played for a fool by everyone I loved. But as I slowly picked up the pieces, I realized something else. I was stronger than I thought. The hardest part was confronting the reality that I'd been blind for so long. I kept asking myself how. I missed the signs, how I didn't see the betrayal coming, but deep down, I knew it wasn't about me missing something. It was about her and them deciding that their own selfish desires mattered more than honesty, loyalty, or even basic decency. That realization was a bitter pill, but it also freed me. I finally saw her for who she was, an extremely manipulative, selfish woman who only cared about herself and her secrets. Now, I focus on rebuilding. I've started trusting again, just gradually. I hold tighter to my own boundaries, and I don't let anyone play me like that ever again. I've cut out all the toxicity, my wife, my brother, the whole mess, and I'm working on rediscovering who I am outside of that chaos. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Looking back, I think what I've learned most is that betrayal comes in many forms, and sometimes the people you think are your everything turn out to be your greatest enemies. The love I had for Lisa was real, but it was also blind. I trusted her blindly, and that trust was shattered in the worst way possible, but I refused to let that define me. I've learned that the only loyalty worth holding onto is the one you have with yourself. To anyone reading this and going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let anyone manipulate or lie to you just because you want to believe in the good in people. If someone shows you their true colors, believe them. Because in the end, the only person who will always be there for you is yourself. And while this pain may never completely go away, it's made me realize my worth. I'll rebuild, I'll move forward, and I'll never let someone betray me like that again.